The Galactic Assembly Station hung in space like a silent judge, orbiting a dying star at the center of the Milky Way. It was a vast structure, miles wide, shaped like a silver ring, with countless ships docked along its outer arms. Inside, representatives from 73 species had gathered for what was meant to be a final round of peace negotiations. Among the incoming ships, one flew the flag of Earth. The U.S. Resolute approached the station in smooth, steady silence. Inside the command deck, Captain James Carter stood at the viewport, watching the station grow larger with every second. He wore the dark blue uniform of the United Earth Defense Navy. His sharp eyes missed nothing. He had the look of a man used to pressure, and today, the weight of an entire planet rested on his shoulders. 10 minutes to docking, said Lieutenant Caravas behind him. Carter nodded. Good. No changes in station protocol? None, sir. They're following standard diplomatic procedures. That, in itself, was a message. The Galactic Assembly wanted to appear calm. But Carter knew the truth. Humanity was not just another member of the Assembly anymore. Earth had become too strong, too fast, too independent. And many alien powers didn't like that. The docking clamps latched onto the ship with a soft thud. The airlock hissed open. Carter stepped forward, flanked by a small delegation, 2 diplomats, his security officer, and an AI translator unit. The hallway beyond was polished, cold, and quiet. Alien guards watched them pass with unreadable expressions. The humans walked through high-ceilinged corridors lit by soft blue light, the walls carved with the languages of dozens of worlds. At the end of the hall, the great chamber of the assembly awaited. It was a circular room, vast as a stadium. Rows of floating seats surrounded a central platform. Each seat belonged to a different species. Some seats glowed with living light. Others shimmered with mist. Some were filled. Some stood empty. But all eyes turned when the humans entered. Premier Zeltar was already on the central platform. He was tall and slender, with skin like polished obsidian and glowing eyes that never blinked. He wore ceremonial armor of the Varn Dominion, silver with jagged red lines. The leader of the largest and most powerful empire in the assembly, Zeltar was both respected and feared. Carter met his gaze without flinching. The premier spoke first, his voice echoing in a dozen languages through the chamber's translator field. Captain James Carter. Earth is late. Carter stepped onto the platform. We're exactly on time. You moved the schedule forward by 1 hour without notice. Again, a low murmur passed through the chamber. Some delegates hid their smiles. Zeltar did not react. Let us begin. We are here to finalize Earth's role in galactic peace. That means full compliance with the security protocols, starting with the dismantling of your AI defense grid and opening access to your planetary core. Carter raised an eyebrow. So that's your version of peace. Disarmament and surveillance. It is protection. For all, Zeltar replied. You built weapons no species has ever dared to create. You hide them behind code and steel. It threatens balance. Carter's voice remained calm. Earth has never fired first. We've defended colonies, aided refugee fleets, and stopped wars you couldn't. If our strength frightens you, perhaps you should ask why we needed it in the first place. A ripple of quiet passed through the chamber. Some delegates exchanged glances. Others looked away. Zeltar narrowed his eyes. We ask once more. Comply, or risk removal from the assembly. Carter looked slowly around the chamber. 73 species. Some allies. Many silent. A few hostile. All watching. He spoke firmly. Earth will not dismantle its defenses. We will not allow foreign powers to dig into our planet's heart. We came here in good faith, but we will not kneel to fear. With that, he turned and walked off the platform. His team followed in silence. Behind them, the chamber buzzed with shock. The humans left the chamber without another word. Far above the station, the Resolute prepared for immediate departure. Back on the bridge, Carter stood once more at the viewport, watching the stars beyond. We offered peace, he said quietly. They offered control. Lieutenant Voss looked at him. What happens now? Carter didn't answer right away. Then he said, now we remind them who we are. The U.S. Resolute cruised through the black ocean of space, silent and alone. Behind it, the Galactic Assembly Station shrank into the distance. Captain James Carter stood in the command center, hands behind his back, watching the stars slide by. It had been 2 hours since the walkout. 2 hours since Earth turned its back on the assembly. He had expected resistance. He had expected anger. But he hadn't expected silence. Not one message had come from the station. No threat. No appeal. Nothing. A soft tone broke the quiet. Captain, said Lieutenant Voss, You have a secure message. Source, United Earth Command. Put it through, Carter said. The screen lit up. The face of Admiral Helena Shaw, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, appeared. Her hair was gray, her face lined with experience, and her voice was sharp. You did the right thing, she said without preamble. Carter didn't smile. Not everyone will agree. No, she said, but that's why we sent you. The Assembly thought you'd bend. They forgot who we are. Carter gave a slow nod. They're not done. Zeltar doesn't lose face quietly. Let them come, Admiral Shaw said. Earth is ready. The screen faded. Silence returned. Carter stood still, the weight of Earth pressing on his shoulders. At the assembly station, Premier Zeltar sat alone in his chamber. The negotiation had failed, and he was furious. But he did not shout. He did not break things. He planned. He opened a secure channel. 4 alien leaders appeared on the screen. One from the Coral Hive, one from the Blueskin Nashari, one from the Reptilian Grintax, and one from the Robotic Centauri Union. All of them had something in common. They feared Earth. You saw it, Zeltar said. They refuse to disarm. They refuse oversight. They walk away from peace. Earth's technology is dangerous, hissed the Coral representative. Their AI thinks too fast. It acts without hesitation. The Nashari delegate added, their defense grid could wipe out a fleet in seconds. And it answers only to them. Zeltar leaned forward. They will not back down. So we must force them to. Not through war yet, but through isolation, pressure, fear. What do you suggest? Asked the Centauri. We begin by turning the assembly against them, Zeltar said. We suspend Earth's voting rights, cut their trade routes, block their ships from safe passage. If they want to be alone, let them be alone. None of the delegates objected. They were too afraid to. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Every channel, every feed, every network ran the same headline. Earth walks out, peace talks collapse. Public opinion was divided. Some people were proud. Others were afraid. In New Geneva, the political heart of Earth, President Eliza Grant addressed the world. We chose peace, she said from her podium. But we will not accept peace through submission. Our sovereignty is not up for negotiation. We are open to fair talks. But we will never agree to be monitored, weakened, or controlled. Her words echoed across every colony, every station, every ship. In orbit, the Resolute docked at Luna Command, Earth's primary military base on the moon. Carter disembarked and was greeted by Defense Commander Malik Ryans, an old friend. You just painted a target on all of us, Ryans said with a half-smile. We've always been targets, Carter replied. Now they just don't pretend otherwise. Together, they walked through the base's underground halls. Giant monitors displayed Earth's defense network, AI satellites, orbital cannons, stealth drones. Everything was on standby. Ready. You think they'll attack? Ryans asked. Carter thought for a long moment, then said, not yet. First, they'll try to choke us. Cut us off. Wait until we fold. And will we? Ryans asked quietly. Carter stopped and looked him in the eye. Not while I breathe. Outside the station, Earth turned slowly below them. A blue planet. Quiet. Strong. Watching. The galaxy thought Earth would be scared. But Earth remembered its own history. And Earth was never built to kneel. The chamber of the Galactic Assembly had never been so quiet. The circular room, built to echo with voices from across the galaxy, now sat in cold stillness. Captain James Carter's footsteps had long faded. The humans were gone. Their seats were empty. Their flag dim. Premier Zeltar stood alone on the central platform, arms folded behind his back, face unreadable. Around him, alien delegates whispered among themselves. Some were confused. Some were pleased. Others worried. This is unacceptable, growled the Grintax warlord from his seat. Earth walks away from negotiations, and we do nothing? Perhaps they see the truth, said the Centauri representative in a voice like distant wind. That the assembly no longer serves all. Only a few. Their technology is unstable, Zeltar interrupted, voice calm but sharp. They refuse transparency. They place weapons above unity. Earth has made its choice. A Nashari diplomat, elegant and thoughtful, leaned forward. But have we pushed too far? If they feel cornered, they might respond. Poorly. They will not, Zeltar said with cold certainty. Humans are emotional, but they fear isolation. We will make them regret their pride. The chamber slowly quieted again. No one dared challenge him directly, but tension lingered in the air like static before a storm. Far from the assembly station, Earth was moving fast. At Luna Command, Captain Carter sat in a secure conference room, surrounded by high-ranking officials and military advisors. A 3D projection floated above the table, a map of the Milky Way, with red markers spreading around Earth's trade routes. "They've begun closing the lanes," said General Amani, Earth's logistics commander. "Half the neutral stations are denying our ships. Supplies and fuel will be harder to come by within a week." Carter didn't flinch. Expected. What about the colonies? Still loyal, but nervous. Mars is stockpiling food. Europa's council wants reassurance will protect the outer colonies. Carter turned to another projection, one showing Earth's defense grid. Thousands of orbital units formed a shield around the solar system. Autonomous AI patrol ships, laser satellites, stealth mines, and interplanetary cannons. All online. All silent. Watching. "We can hold our ground," Carter said. "Even alone. But we won't be alone forever." A young officer raised a question. "Sir, what if they move against us militarily?" Carter answered without hesitation. "Then we do what we've always done. We survive." Later that evening, Carter walked alone through the observation deck of Luna Command. The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky. Earth hung below like a blue jewel. Peaceful. Beautiful. Worth protecting. He thought about the assembly. About the silent stares. The hidden fear. The subtle threats. He thought about how far humanity had come from a single planet to dozens of colonies. From weak and scattered to strong and united. They hadn't gotten here by surrendering. Behind him, footsteps approached. It was Defense Commander Ryan's. "You made a lot of enemies back there," Ryan said. Carter didn't turn. "We didn't come to be liked. They'll come after us." "I know." Ryan stepped beside him. "You're not afraid?" Carter looked at the Earth below. His voice was steady. "I'm angry." Back at the assembly, Zeltar met in secret with his inner circle. A small room. Dim lights. No cameras. "They will not give in easily," one of his aides warned. "They don't need to give in," Zeltar said. "They only need to make a mistake. One wrong move, and the galaxy will demand action." He stared at a screen showing Carter's image, calm, clear-eyed, strong. "He thinks strength makes them safe," Zeltar said softly. "But pride always cracks under pressure." He turned off the screen. "Let's apply more." 2 days later, another message arrived at Luna Command. This one was not from Earth or the Assembly. It was a threat. A warning from a small alien faction near the edge of Assembly space, one that had once allied with Earth but now claimed a grievance. They accused Earth of hoarding weapons, of building AI fleets near their borders. "If you do not stand down," the message said, "we will act." Carter read it twice. "They're testing us," he said to his staff. "Looking for weakness. We give them none." He stood tall. "They think we'll back down. They think we're afraid to stand alone. They think we need them." He paused. "They're wrong." And with that, the message from Earth was clear, calm, firm, and final. "This is our line. Cross it, and you'll find out what stands behind it." The silence after the walkout didn't last long. Within 24 hours of Earth's departure from the Galactic Assembly, communication hubs across the galaxy lit up with chaos. News feeds, broadcasts, and political forums filled with messages in every language, some in panic, others in celebration, and many in confusion. Headlines flashed across the core worlds. Earth rejects galactic oversight. Premier Zeltar calls emergency assembly meeting. Trade lanes closing around the Sol system. Earth's isolation begins. On neutral space stations, diplomats whispered in corridors, wondering what Earth's next move would be. Some believed Earth would come crawling back. Others weren't so sure. But back home, Earth did not slow down. At Luna Command, the mood was focused, quiet, determined. Captain James Carter moved through the base like a man with no time to waste. Every hallway he walked, every room he entered, buzzed with activity. His officers worked without complaint. Engineers updated targeting protocols. Strategists reviewed supply routes. Communications officers monitored every signal within 1,000 light-years. He entered the command briefing room and stood before a full council of Earth's military leaders, colony governors, and defense coordinators. A large holographic display glowed in the center, showing the expanding zones where Earth's ships were now being blocked or denied access. General Imani stood to speak. Trade cutoffs have started across 3 major sectors. Merchant vessels have been turned away from 8 neutral ports. Fuel access is thinning in outer colony routes. Governor Ruiz from Mars spoke next. "We're tightening reserves. Mars can hold for 3 months without new shipments. After that, we'll feel it. Earth's core systems will last longer, Carter said. The problem is the edge colonies. The ones still growing. We keep them supported. No one gets left behind. Someone asked the question everyone was thinking. What if the Assembly orders military action? Carter's answer was clear. They won't yet, but someone else might. He walked to the edge of the projection and zoomed in on a section of the galactic map, a small cluster of systems, far from the Assembly's core. A region home to the Torvac Syndicate, a rogue faction known for pirating and border skirmishes. They've been quiet for years, Carter said. Too quiet. They're opportunists. If they think Earth is vulnerable, they'll strike. Commander Ryan stepped forward. Then we strike first? No, Carter replied. We stay ready. We don't blink. We make them wonder what happens if they try. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Earth's allies struggled to stay neutral. The Jarathi, peaceful traders who had once signed a technology-sharing pact with Earth, suddenly canceled all shipments. The Sereni, once partners in agricultural exchange, cut communications entirely. Even the KLYNN, who had once sent diplomats to Earth's universities, now claimed to be re-evaluating their relationship. It wasn't personal. It was fear. Everyone could feel the pressure coming from Zeltar and the Varn Dominion. No one wanted to risk becoming the next target. And yet, not all turned away. A quiet message arrived at Luna Command. It was encrypted, unofficial, and unsigned. Carter read it alone in his office. We saw what you did. You stood when others would kneel. Some of us remember. We are not all your enemies. No name, no signature, but enough to know that eyes were still watching, some with respect. Carter stood again on the command deck of the Resolute, now docked at Earth's upper orbit. The blue curve of the planet glowed below. Around it, Earth's defense grid shimmered faintly, satellites, drones, and invisible firepower, all powered by the most advanced military AI in known space. He activated a secure link. The voice of Admiral Shaw came through. They've shut the door, she said. Then we make our own way, Carter replied. Are you ready? I've been ready since the moment we walked out. There was a pause. Then she said, we'll stand with you. Whatever comes. Carter nodded. This was the new reality. Earth was alone, at least for now. But not weak. And not silent. From this point forward, every move would matter. Every signal. Every word. Every decision. This was the aftermath. Not of failure, but of defiance. And in the void, defiance echoes longer than fear. The warning came without sound. No speeches, no threats, no declaration of war. At 0300 hours Earth Central Time, a small human colony on the planet Eos Prime, deep in the outer belt, went dark. It happened suddenly. One moment, communications were normal. The next, complete silence. The colony housed nearly 10,000 people. Scientists, engineers, families. It was not a military post. It had no weapons beyond local security drones. It had never seen combat. Within minutes, Luna Command received a coded distress burst. Short, broken, full of static. Then nothing. Captain James Carter read the message 3 times. Only one line came through clearly. Unknown ships. Shields down. Evacuating. Silence followed. He stood in the war room with Earth's top commanders. The room felt colder than usual, the air heavier. Who do we think it is? Asked General Amani. Carter zoomed in on the galactic map, pointing to a nearby region. The Torvac Syndicate, he said. Opportunists. Raiders. They've avoided direct conflict with Assembly powers, but now they see Earth alone. They wouldn't dare hit us like this if we still had full support, someone said. No, Carter agreed. But now they're testing us. The order was simple. Deploy Task Force Orion, Carter commanded. Go fast, go quiet, go hard. Within an hour, a fleet of Earth's finest ships detached from Luna Command. Led by the UES Valor, a Titan-class warship, the task force entered slipspace. Destination, Eos Prime. Captain Leora Vance, commander of the Valor, was chosen for this mission. Smart, fast-thinking, and unshakable in a crisis. Her fleet dropped out of slipspace 12 hours later, just outside the Eos Prime orbit. What they found was devastating. Smoke rose from the colony's central district. The atmosphere was scorched in several zones. Habitat domes had collapsed. Emergency beacons blinked in the darkness like dying stars. And orbiting above it all were 6 Torvax warships, sharp, dark vessels shaped like hooked blades. Vance's voice came over the channel. "We confirm hostiles. Colony is damaged. Survivors scattered. Enemy ships are unshielded and slow to respond. Permission to engage?" From Luna Command, Carter gave the answer without pause. Permission granted. The battle lasted less than 9 minutes. Earth's fleet moved like a machine. AI-controlled drones launched ahead, jamming Torvax systems. Precision strikes hit their weapon arrays. Torvax ships tried to run, but Earth's targeting AI predicted every move. Each ship was disabled without total destruction. Earth sent a message: "We don't seek war, but we will not be prey." Marines landed on the surface and secured the colony. Over 6,000 colonists had survived in underground shelters. Medical ships were dispatched. Emergency repair crews followed. From orbit, Captain Vance reported back. Enemy forces neutralized. EOS Prime secure. Survivors recovering. No Earth losses. Carter closed his eyes for a moment. Relief. But also, a spark of something sharper. Anger. Not just at the Torvax. At the assembly. At the silence. At those who stood back and watched. News of the counter-strike traveled fast. Within a day, every major world knew what had happened. Earth defends EOS Prime. Torvax ships crushed in 9 minutes. Earth acts alone, saves thousands. What if they hadn't walked out? Suddenly, opinions started to shift. Some assembly members began to question the pressure campaign. The Sereni, once cold toward Earth, issued a public message: "We do not support attacks on civilians. We recognize Earth's right to defend its people." Even the Jarathi, who had canceled trade, sent quiet feelers back to Earth. Premier Zeltar watched this unfold from his private command chamber. His face remained still, but his eyes glowed with quiet rage. "This should have weakened them," he said to his aide. Instead, it had done the opposite. They had stood alone and won. Back at Luna Command, Carter reviewed the reports. "Any other threats?" he asked. "None direct," said Commander Ryans. "But chatter's increasing. Other factions are watching now, some with interest, some with fear." Carter nodded. "Good. Let them watch." He walked to the observation deck once again, staring out into the stars. They had tried to make Earth silent. They had tried to make Earth small. But when fire came, Earth did not burn. It answered. The destruction of the Torvax fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Not just because Earth had responded, but because of how fast and precise the response had been. The message was clear. Earth may be standing alone, but it was not weak. It was dangerous, and it was prepared. In less than 3 days, the EOS Prime footage had been viewed billions of times across the core worlds. Clips of Earth's fleet moving in flawless formation. Footage of AI-piloted drones disabling enemy engines without killing. Interviews with grateful survivors. No grand speech. No bragging. Just cold, efficient action. And the galaxy noticed. In the heart of the Galactic Assembly Station, Premier Zeltar sat with his advisors in a private chamber layered with noise-blocking fields. He looked at the hollow faces around the table. His voice was sharp and low. "This is not a victory for Earth. It is a failure of our pressure." "But the other delegates are nervous," said a Nashari envoy. "They fear that Earth no longer needs the assembly at all." "They're beginning to admire them," added another. "Even those who feared Earth now wonder if they made the wrong call." Zeltar said nothing for a moment. Then he spoke, each word like stone. "Earth acted alone. If we had succeeded in isolating them completely, that colony would have been lost. The galaxy forgets too easily." "They forget," a Grintax general muttered. "But they also remember who shows up when it matters." Zeltar's fist tightened on the arm of his chair. "Then we remind them what true unity looks like. And we remind Earth what it costs to walk away." Meanwhile, far from the politics and whispers, Captain James Carter sat in the control center of the UES Resolute, reviewing new data streams from across the galaxy. 3 unexpected diplomatic messages had arrived in the last 12 hours. The KLYNN, once silent, now asked for renewed talks on research cooperation. The Sereni, former trade partners, requested a secure channel to discuss resource exchange. And most surprising of all, a small alliance of fringe civilizations, long ignored by the Assembly, had sent a joint statement. Earth stood alone and still protected its own. "We recognize strength through honor. We would speak with you." Carter leaned back in his chair. He didn't smile, but there was a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. Not because Earth was gaining favor, but because the truth was finally cutting through the noise. Down on Earth, public opinion was shifting as well. People who had once feared isolation now saw it as strength. They spoke not in panic, but in pride. Families of EOS Prime survivors held vigils and celebrations. Children wrote messages to Carter and the soldiers who saved their homes. Statues were planned. Tributes were held. But Carter had no time for ceremonies. He was in the war room again, this time studying a different map, one showing movement near the outer rim, where rogue AI remnants and ancient automated fleets still lurked. Places the Assembly had ignored for years. "They're waking up," said Commander Ryans. "Data shows increased activity in the decay zone. Possibly old war machines, maybe worse." Carter stared at the map. And Earth is the only one prepared for it. "Most don't even believe the old threats are still active," Ryans said. "But they will." Carter nodded. "We've always looked farther than they wanted. That's why they tried to cage us." In the background of these new threats, the Assembly grew quieter. Not silent, but slower, less confident. Some members still backed Zeltar's hard line, but others began to avoid public comment. The once united front had fractures now, cracks spreading beneath the surface. Some said the Assembly had overreached. Some said Earth should never have been pushed out. And some whispered the one thing Zeltar feared most. Maybe Earth was right. Back on Luna Command, Carter stood before a private console. A secure channel blinked. The message was from an independent coalition, a group of mid-tier worlds not loyal to the Assembly or Earth. They had stayed silent throughout the conflict. Until now, their words were simple. "We are ready to speak." Not in command, not in control, but in respect. Carter read it slowly, then closed the message. The tide was turning. Earth had walked away from the Assembly, yes. But now, the galaxy was walking toward Earth. And Zeltar's iron grip on the narrative was slipping. It was not fear that was spreading anymore. It was respect. The UES Resolute hovered in high orbit above Earth, still and silent. From the observation deck, Captain James Carter looked out over his homeworld. The planet glowed, wrapped in soft clouds and blue oceans. Peaceful. But under that peace now lived a new kind of power, a quiet, steady resolve. The galaxy had watched Earth walk away from the most powerful political body in known space. And instead of breaking, Earth had risen. It had defended its people, protected its colonies, stood tall in the face of silence and sabotage. Now, others had begun to notice and to respond. A new meeting was scheduled, not in the Assembly, not in Varn space, and not under any council's command. It was held in the neutral system of Salus, on a floating platform above a barren moon. No flags, no leaders, no symbols of dominance. Just ships from a dozen worlds, including Earth, arriving one by one. Carter arrived aboard the Resolute, alone but not unnoticed. His ship was sleek, scarred from patrol duty, and proud. As he disembarked, eyes turned his way. No one looked down on him anymore. Some nodded, some simply stared, but all watched. Inside the conference hall, a long oval table sat under a high dome of glass. Stars glittered above them. No grand banners hung from the walls. No weapons were carried. Just representatives, alien and human, sitting as equals. Carter took his seat near the center. The representative from the KLYNN, tall and pale blue, spoke first. "We watched your actions. You did not run. You did not beg. You did not destroy. You defended. And then you stopped." From the other side, a delegate from the Sereni added, "You didn't lash out. You didn't seek revenge. That mattered." A third, from a small alliance of fringe worlds, leaned forward. "The Assembly believes power is control. You showed that true power is restraint." Carter didn't speak right away. He looked around the table. Some of these leaders had once turned their backs. Others had never chosen a side. But now they were all here. When Earth left the Assembly, Carter said finally, "We didn't walk away from peace. We walked away from terms that weren't peace at all. We were told to weaken, to bend, or be cast out. But peace isn't surrender. It's balance. And it has to be mutual." He paused, letting the words settle. "We aren't here to dominate. We don't want control. We want cooperation, real cooperation, not dictated agreements. We protect our own. We always will. But we can also protect more, if it's done with respect." The room stayed quiet for a few long seconds. Then, one by one, the delegates began to nod. Not all, not loudly, but enough. This was not a new assembly. This wasn't a treaty written in power or fear. It was the beginning of something different. A shared table, not a throne. And Earth had earned its seat not by asking, but by proving. Back on Earth, the news spread. Carter attends historic neutral talks. New alliance begins without assembly oversight. Earth leads through strength and calm. People gathered in cities and colonies to watch the broadcasts. Not in celebration, not in arrogance, but with pride. On Mars, children who had once feared war now drew pictures of Earth ships rescuing Eos Prime. On Europa, engineers upgraded communication towers with shared tech from KLYN scientists. On Earth, the United Council passed a simple motion. We will never trade safety for silence, nor power for pride, but we will always choose peace where it is offered with respect. In the dark chambers of the assembly station, Premier Zeltar stood before his council. Fewer leaders attended now. The Varn Dominion remained strong, but the assembly no longer spoke with one voice. Some chairs were empty. Some factions had already left. He stared out the window, at a galaxy that had begun to change. He had tried to bend Earth. Now it was the galaxy that bent around it. On board the Resolute, Captain Carter returned to his private quarters. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a moment of stillness. He removed his uniform jacket, poured a cup of dark tea, and sat by the window. Stars drifted past. So much had changed. Earth was still alone in many ways. Still surrounded by uncertainty. Still watched carefully. But it was no longer doubted. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. It wouldn't do so again. He took a sip of tea and looked out into the endless dark. We didn't want war, he said softly. But if it finds us again, we're ready. He stood, calm and steady, the kind of man who didn't need to shout to be heard. Because now, the galaxy was listening.